Welcome, everyone. Beautiful beings. I'm very delighted to have a good friend of mine from the other side of the world, Australia, Melanie Tulip, more known like Mel, right? We have a community where basically you're known more as Mel. Uh,
Yes.
so it was very interesting about your last name. I said you're like the tulip flower, but then you told me that there was a little adjustment made to your name with the family. But
Yes.
I'm very glad to have you here because we met in a very interesting way. And just to give people a little foundation, we have a galactic community that we have connected with when it comes to disclosure. And for some reason, some of the beautiful beings in that group, we kind of connected in some very natural and spontaneous way. And with Mel, I remember listening to you and your vibration and your voice and your heart, and I just felt this connection to you. And I remember one night your name came to me, and it was like Mel, Mel, Mel in my head. And then I said, okay, I'm gonna text Mel, and then you text me right away back and say, yeah, that happens a lot. And I'm like, oh, cool. So I'm not, doo-doo-doo. So it was very nice and heartwarming for you to just welcome me into your life. And we've been little by little connecting here with experiences, and I'm getting to know you with some of the interviews. And it was very interesting that when we talked, we connected to somehow there's a connection with a dream I had and an experience you had in meditation. So, with that said, I would love for you to share your experience because you get mostly this experience through meditation. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit on how you you get these beautiful insights and memories?
Yeah. Sometimes I do get them through dreams
Hmm.
and when I wake up in the morning and when I go to sleep. But I've sort of developed the ability to sometimes go very deep in meditation. It doesn't always happen,
Hmm.
but sometimes I just sort of happen spontaneously. I go into like quite a deep sort of trance. And sometimes I will get sort of visions, and it'll be like a little movie sort of going through my mind, and like these feel like they're memories of other lives. Um, and one of the experiences that I had in November last year
Hmm.
was I had this experience where I saw myself on a ship, a large round spaceship.
Hmm.
Um, and I believe it was an Altean ship. All of the people had sort of long, straight white hair. It seemed to be mainly women that I remembered. There may have been men there, but it was mainly sort of the women that I noticed. I felt like you were on that ship. um, that's just sort of my intuition.
Hmm.
Um, and all of the crew were wearing like these sort of long sleeved white jumpsuits. And so we were flying somewhere on this ship. It seemed to be like maybe like the flight deck of the ship. Um, and so we sort of flew down, and then somehow like the scene changed, and it was sort of like I was standing on the shore next to an ocean.
Hmm.
And then I saw this woman like appear on the shore, and it was like she had been beamed off the ship. This woman had different clothing on. She was an Altean. She had the long white hair, but her clothing was more kind of like robes. It was kind of
Hmm.
like sort of long, draped, sort of flowing, sort of
Hmm.
cream, sort of tan colored.
Off white. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so she was just sort of standing there on the shore, and somehow I had the sense that there were some kind of native people nearby,
Hmm.
and they had like witnessed this, and it was sort of like I had the impression that there was sort of some indigenous story that was told about this, and I sort of didn't know anything about this previously. And it was interesting because I thought of you, and I think, after I came out of the meditation, I thought, I think Vicky might know something about this. And it was sort of just, it was very interesting because, I was just sort of standing there observing this. Anyway, so I contacted you, I think like the next day or a couple of days
Mhm.
later. And then you told me about this story. And I had this sense that it was probably in North America. Um, so yeah, it was a very interesting experience. It was sort of like something being witnessed by the indigenous people, and them interpreting it in a different way, because I had this sense that they thought the woman had come out of the water. Um,
Mm.
but because I guess they wouldn't have understood about, beaming technology, someone being beamed, because suddenly she's just standing there on the shore next to the ocean. So yeah, it
So
was
you
really interesting.
so did you sense the natives or did you see the natives or
I
how
didn't
did
see them. I
you
just sort of
sense?
sent. Yeah, and it was sort of like I got this message that there was a story that
Yeah,
was told by the Indigenous people because
yeah.
they witnessed this, and they sort of shared this story, and it got passed down through time.
That's
So
wonderful. That's awesome. Yeah, when you shared it with me, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to tell you this dream because um, although you get dreams as well, but as you mentioned, this was in a seated trance type meditation. Sorry, I got a little pale cat hair. Um, and we were back and forth that day because I had just to connect your experience with mine and is that on I think it's September of last year. I had this the night before I put an intention to basically give me a second. I think my mom's chatting in the background. Hold on. Sorry about that. That's life.
that's okay.
Probably my cat will turn out in a minute. So basically, going back to this connection, I texted you. I said, Mel, I had this dream actually in September, actually September 6th, 2024. And the night before I had this, I put out this intention because I'm learning how to maybe give myself like an intention to what information I want to know before I go to sleep. Does that make sense? Yeah. And this is all
Yeah.
new to me. I'm just learning, but it really helped because that same night, because I said, okay, I want to know a little bit more about my past, why I'm here, just clarity because I'm getting all these dreams with little bits and pieces of things. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I'm like, holy crap, I had this vision and it was very specific. It was 1776. And I spoke to about this briefly in other short videos I have, but this time I'll talk a little bit more about it. And it was flashing. It was like, and the font was that old type of font that they used during that time in, I guess in the 18th century when that happened, 1776. And it was flashing. I guess it was very much emphasizing for me not to forget. So the year was flashing. And within that dream, there was a commotion going on back and forth. And then that was it. Um, so I said, okay, so what does that have to do with with, my experience? But then during the day when I woke up in the morning, an insight came to me that there was other beings present in that signing, you know. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Alex, I think Collier mentioned that there were actual beings, in that important signing. So I started to do a little research, and interesting enough, the Iroquois, and I'll try to make this, because it's a pretty intense story, but it's beautiful. The Iroquois, North American and Canadian Indians, I guess, eventually became Canada, but there was like six nations that came together, called the Iroquois that just basically stopped fighting, got together in peace, and started to basically do something positive. But they had a story legend about the Sky Lady, you know. And then I'm looking into this stuff, Sky Lady, and it talks about this woman, that came from the sky, you know, and created Earth um, through the starting in America, but America was called Turtle Island by the natives. So that's why I have this turtle in the back here because I like to try to get visuals so people can see. So so basically, this lady came through the sky and eventually, started the process of creation, continue the process of creation because they were setting up the foundation, and that was the turtle coming up and the animals helping to terraform the turtle on top. So I'm like, this is really getting interesting. So I'm here, you know, reading and Googling. And then the connection comes when I'm reading about uh, how the Declaration of Independence started to form. And some people write and talk about that the Iroquois influenced the Declaration of Independence. And there's a lot of things there that Benjamin Franklin was trying to bring in because he thought it was brilliant of how they were living, you know. But it's not really recognized as much. And but I think Alex Collier has more detail on that. But the beautiful thing was to finish up is that I went into a webinar last Friday um, that Alex had with Michael Jaco, and I enter my question about that, I entered, the connection between, the Declaration of Independence and the influence of the Iroquois and the Sky Lady, who was the Sky Lady. And he didn't get to my question, but interesting enough, a few minutes before the webinar was finishing, I don't remember exactly what was said, but Alice Collier said, yeah, there was a being at the signing of the Declaration of Independence. This being was there for a half hour. He or she came in, spoke, and left a half hour, and there was a commotion in the background. So I'm like, well, who's this? Obviously, my question eventually would be, is this who this being is? Because it might have been one being, it might have been other beings as well, that maybe weren't shown. Some of my instincts tell me it was probably one, but there was maybe a few of them together with this being. Um, but to know that there was such an important event that we're witnessing today at this moment, what's going on, is just mind blowing. I'm still don't have all the pieces, but when you told me about your dream, it just ignited, you know, some more questions and possible connections to who are these beings that actually, were present at that time. And and not only they were present there, but George Washington, according to Alex, Clear, he had an encounter with a being when he was praying. He was getting, I guess he was gonna go into you know, a fight, a war, I think it's a civil war. And basically he was there kneeling. There's this famous portrait of him kneeling in the snow. And so there's a lot of things there that I think Alex mentioned. Only the people that were there wrote about it, so you would have to probably go into their books, into their personal experience to see what interpretation they have of that. So there's more to it, but as you can see in the background, I thought it was a beautiful depiction of the Native woman. And you can see two beings here. Supposedly she has twins. She gives birth to twins, and then another story develops. So it's very, very interesting how the natives incorporated and and I guess they saw somebody, like many native stories, they see certain off-world beings that come and guide them to learn how to live life and understand life. And having I guess like I said, this conversation with you was pretty fascinating because we're basically connecting dots, and let's see where it goes. But yeah, that was that was a little bit about that. So what are you have any thoughts about
I think it's an amazing story, and it shows that influence of the people from the stars. Like I think so many indigenous cultures around the world have sort of spoken about this. There's so many stories. Um, I know a little bit about the sort of Aboriginal stories. They have a lot of stories about the Seven Sisters, and I
in
know that,
Australia?
yeah, and there are Native American stories as well that
That's
I've
yeah.
heard about as well. They have a connection to them. But I think it's fascinating, and maybe there is some kind of connection with the vision that I had.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be clear that the woman that I saw on the shore wasn't me. I was
Mm-hmm.
just observing. I don't know
Right.
who she was. She seemed like some kind of like ambassador or something like that.
Got it. Yeah.
I think the Alteans were,
Yeah.
you know, coming to Earth and making connections and
Yep.
guiding. Um, especially in the ancient
Mm-hmm.
past. Um, yeah, I mean, I have been to Uluru twice. I actually went there. I was telling you that I went there
Mm-hmm.
December last year, very recently. And I had some experiences when I was there as well. I
Mm-hmm.
definitely felt the presence of the Alteans when I was there, and just the cedars more generally, like
Mm-hmm.
the tal. Um, I did sort of sit and meditate quite a bit when I was there, and I did sort of see the Alteans, that they were there at some point. I mean, they've been on many locations on the earth,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure. Um, but I feel very strongly that Uluru is one of the places
Mm-hmm.
on earth where the original seeding happened. Um, there's just a very powerful energy there. And I had this experience where I saw these beings that they were kind of formless in a way. They were
Mm-hmm.
sort of energy beings, and I just sort of saw them coming in, and it was like they had some role to do with, like the seeding. And it's like when you have these experiences, it's hard to like fully understand what it was about. It was sort of like they were
Mm-hmm.
sort of connected to the cedars, like somehow,
Mm-hmm.
and sort of yeah, like they'd help to seed the plant life and the animal life and sort of the land and everything there. And yeah, it was very interesting. Like the energy there is amazing.
No, I
um
saw the photo. I mean, I looked it up as soon as you told me that you went there. I looked it up, and it's just like, wow. It's like this red triangle-ish, not triangle, it's like rectangular type of rock. I mean, not specifically triangle, but just to give you an idea. And it's just red, and then the contrast with the green, depending, I
yeah,
guess, on the season.
well, yeah, a lot of the trees do seem to stay green. I mean, haven't been there at all in all the different seasons, but I was there in summer, like in December. It was extremely hot, but there's actually little kind of pools of water all around it. I mean, not all around it, but there's certain locations, because when it rains, it sort of gathers the water, and so there are like these little cool spots with water around there. There may be some water coming from underground as well. I'm not
Yeah.
actually sure. But there is a Dreamtime story
Hmm.
to do with the Seven Sisters, that the Ananu, the tribe that live around Uluru, are called the Ananu, which to me is very interesting because it sounds quite Anunnaki
Yeah,
sounding.
exactly. That's what I thought when you said it.
Anu.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
there's obviously some connection there
Hmm.
with the Anak, the Anunnaki. Um, and but they also have a connection to the Seven Sisters, the Pleiades as well.
Pleiades, yeah.
Yeah, and the story is interesting. Like I think I was telling you, there's public versions of these stories, but there's also probably like a private version that has more kind of
Mm,
detail
yeah.
because
Hmm.
in Aboriginal culture, like the stories are very sacred because the dream time, like a lot of people think the dream time is like in the past, but it's actually not. It's sort of beyond time. So it's past,
Hmm.
present, and future all at once. Like, so to them, like it
Hmm.
still exists.
Hmm.
And they see themselves as caretakers of certain stories. And so they're kind of protected. Um, but the public version of the Seven Sisters Dreamtime story is it's interesting because it's about so the sisters are seen as these women that came from the stars, and Orion is also a part of the story as well. And
Hmm.
so one of the stars of Orion is represented by a man, and he's in love with one of the sisters, and he's sort of like, chasing them across the sky. So, you see
Hmm.
Orion chasing the Pleiades across the sky, but they believe that whatever happens in the sky is reflected on the earth. So he's sort of chasing after the sisters or one in particular. And yeah, it's kind of like I said, I
Yeah.
feel like there's more to the story, but
Yeah, absolutely. I think
it's
that's
interesting.
a simplistic way of maybe because of the capacity, maybe of the people at that time, that it was an easier way to pass down a more
Mm,
complex story, you know,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
like a not a myth. I mean, we call it myth, legends, but at the end of the day, we're finding out that it's really not. That it's just
No,
they
exactly.
covered it in a story, a beautiful story that held its, the wording and the beautiful tale, you know,
Exactly.
for generations to go. But as we're unraveling it, it's like it's really connecting a lot of the native stories together to a certain extent, right?
Yeah, for sure. Because I think they've always known about the star people. A
Hmm.
lot of the people on the planet. It's not anything unusual to them. So
Yeah,
it's yeah, and there's different versions of the Seven Sisters story as well. The
yeah.
different tribes have different versions, but I was lucky. I met this Aboriginal woman, and
Oh, I was going to ask you, and you just told me right
yeah,
now. I was like, that was my next question.
it was a strange situation actually. I had a bit of a crazy thing happen. Like it was a really really hot day. There was actually a heat wave when I was at Uluru, so it was
Wow.
extreme. And I went on a little walk, and the first part of it was fine, but then I sort of went down like the wrong track. I thought I was finding going to a certain location because you
Hmm.
can walk all around. There's different
Hmm.
trails all around the rock because it's huge. And so I sort of found myself out in the desert, like with no like shelter or anything. I'd
Really?
run out of water. It was extremely hot. And I sort of kept going because I was trying to get to the next point where I knew that there was, a location where I could get water and I could refill my water bottle. But in my mind, I kept getting this message like, go back, go back, you need to go back.
Oh,
But I was arguing because sometimes I do that with, these messages. I'm like, no, I need to go to the next spot, like, because they have water there. Because I knew if I went back that way, they didn't actually have any, there was no water tap or anything. And I thought, I need to get more water. But then as I kept going, I realized, I don't know how far away this is. And the sun was like beating down on me. And I thought, I do need to go back. Like I should have listened to that voice, like 10 minutes ago, because I was scared I was going to collapse out there,
yeah, dehydration. Yeah.
you know, and it was extreme, extreme
Yeah.
heat. So I walked back up to the road, like I was
Hmm.
completely exhausted. And then I saw this like car come along, and I'm like, stop, stop. And this woman pulls up, and it's this lovely Aboriginal woman, and she sort of opens the door and she's like, "Where did you come from?" And I said to her, "I don't know. I got
Come
lost and
upstairs. I'm just
run
kidding.
out of water." And she was like, "Get in, like, get in." And she drove me up to the cultural centre. There's a cultural centre that's near Uluru, and we sort of sat down together. There's like a cafe, a lovely cafe there, and I got like water, and I got went to the bathroom and covered myself in cold water, and
Wow.
I just rehydrated myself, and then sat and had lunch with her, and we were sort of talking about different things, and then something came up about the Seven Sisters, and I sort of asked her a little bit about the story because I'd heard versions
Hmm.
of it, and she sort of told me the story herself, which is really, it's nice to hear it from an Indigenous person
Hmm.
because it's not just the words, it's like the energy. It's like
Words.
they're imparting an energy to you as they're telling you the story.
Hmm.
And um, she mentioned one part of the story that I hadn't heard before was that this, I wish I could remember his name, and I wish I could remember which star it was connected to. It was one of the Orion stars, but he was in love with the youngest sister, apparently,
Mm.
and that was sort of forbidden. And I don't know whether she meant it was forbidden because she was underage or if it was because just like in a lot of cultures, like the elder
Yeah.
sisters have to get married first, and the
Hmm.
youngest aren't, and it was sort of like this forbidden like thing.
Hmm.
And I don't think she wanted to be with him anyway, but it was sort of,
Interesting.
yeah, she sort of told me that part of the story, and it was like, oh, that's interesting, because I hadn't heard that before. But yeah, it was an interesting journey up there. Yeah.
When did you stay there, or was it one day? Uh,
I stayed there for 4 days.
oh
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. There's
So,
like a
uh-huh.
resort. They call it a resort, but it's very like
Okay.
low
So
near
there
there.
is a development close by then?
Yeah,
That
it's about 100 kilometers away, I think. So it's not like right next to it. Like it's far enough away. They keep it very protected, and you have to sort of
yeah.
go up there on buses, or you can drive up there as well if you have a car with you. But
Was there any specific activities that were going on there that, or it was more of a touristic trip?
it was more of a touristic trip. I mean, there was actually a conference that was going there up when I was up there.
Hmm.
So I was there on the 21st of December, which was the solstice
Oh wow.
here, the summer solstice. And there's a reason why I actually chose to go there at that time, because I was actually there at Uluru at that time 4 years ago, 4 years before. There was this significant event that a lot of people around the world were talking about. There were some people that were saying that there was going to be something inside Uluru that was going to be activated at that time
Really?
for go. And a lot of people were sort of drawn to go there at that time. And I got the message to go up there at that time. Um, and but what happened was this was during COVID. It was like sort of, so it was 2020. Yeah, it was the end of the year 2020, but there was this sort of little break. Like we'd had our first lockdown in Australia, and
Hmm.
then, well, everyone did all over the world at that time. And then
Yeah.
it sort of, things sort of opened up again for a little while. There was this little kind of window. And so, yeah, I thought I'm going up there. Like I felt very drawn to go there and to be a part of this. So, but what happened is that the government actually shut down the national park, and
Oh,
no one was actually allowed to go to Uluru. It was it was almost like some deep state thing happened. It's like they
wow.
knew, like people like, star seeds and people
They
that
were
were
like,
connected with higher consciousness were going up there for this significant event. There was also a conference there at the time as well. Um, and I didn't actually go to the conference, but I just sort of went anyway. So, long story short, we couldn't actually go to Uluru, but because it's so huge, like around I was staying in a campground, there's like a lookout near there. And you can actually see it quite clearly from there. I mean, it's in the distance. So a whole group, myself and a group of other people, we sat there on that night of the 21st of December, and we meditated and we connected with Uluru. And definitely something happened. Like, I had a lot of experiences when I was there at that time. I saw this kind of like a light chip come down. Like, I saw this in my mind. I didn't see it with my eyes. I saw it
Mm.
psychically, and it was like it merged, and it's like I saw this crystal inside Uluru, like this sort of like an etheric crystal, and it's like it merged with that, and something happened. There were definitely ships there. There was this suspicious looking cloud that was in this one spot the whole time. It was
Oh
quite like
yeah.
a cloud, and I kept
Like
saying to these, like,
it didn't move.
there's a ship behind that cloud. It did not move like hours, because we were like sitting there for like hours. It
Yeah.
was like,
And
hmm.
was this your first trip or to
That
Uluru?
was my first trip. Yeah,
Okay.
that
Because
was
you
my
went
first trip.
last year then.
Yeah, and
This,
I went last year. So
okay.
4 years later
Wow.
to the
Yeah.
I was there again. And there was the conference was going on again at the same time. So you got a lot of spiritual people sort of coming up there at that time.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't go to the conference, but I saw some of the people from the conference, and they actually invited me to like a sky watch. They were having a sky watch, but that was the night where I had booked in to go to the astronomy tour, which I
You
showed you the
sent me a
photos.
picture. That was fascinating. I mean,
Yeah,
I thought it was a poster background, but you said that was the real sky in the back?
yeah, that was the sky. They do this long exposure photography. You're standing there for
Hmm.
ages, like you have to stand really
Yeah, and
still,
it's
and
like yeah.
yeah, and so they can get all the stars. It was like
Yeah.
amazing. So yeah, so I didn't get to go to the Skywatch, but I definitely saw some things when I was up there, and I did see a light going across the sky during the Skywatch, and I said
Mm.
to the woman that was hosting it, "Is that? Do you think that's a satellite?" And she sort of said yes, that she thought it was a satellite, but I wasn't sure. And then another night, I saw some look like
Activity.
ships to me, definitely,
Yeah, because
definitely.
imagine you don't have light pollution there. I mean, you can just
Exactly.
sit there and
It's,
watch things happen.
the sky is so clear. And I asked, there were two
Hmm.
women that were running this tour, and one of them was a skeptic. She was the one that said that that was just a satellite. And maybe it was, I don't know. But this other woman, she was really into it. She was telling me about all these sightings that she'd had, and
Hmm.
but then the other one will say to her, "No, they were just satellites. It was like a satellite with a flare." And she was saying, "No, it wasn't." Like, she was telling me a story about this light, this red light that came right down, and she was like, "That wasn't like a satellite." Like, you
Interesting.
know,
You're in between the skeptic and
yeah, it was really interesting.
the
So anyway, so I don't know what happened at the Skywatch that the conference people had, but because I didn't sort of see any of them again, but it yeah, maybe that was what came in for their Skywatch, and we were seeing it because we were sort of further into the national park. But if they'd called something in, we would have been able to see it. Maybe that's what
Oh
we
yeah,
saw.
I think if you
Yeah.
would have gathered with other people like-minded and put the intention, you would have probably had visitors.
Yeah, I wish I had been able to go. It was just that I had already pre-booked this tour, this
Mm.
astronomy tour, which I really, really wanted to go to, and I'm glad that I did. But it would just happened to be on the same night. But I did, yeah, like I said, I another night in the middle of the night, I did have an experience where I saw something, and I'm sure it was a ship, like for sure, because I felt like there was some kind of connection.
Mhm.
Yeah,
No,
and I
things
did try
do
and take a
happen.
video. It wasn't
Huh?
very clear. I did try and take a video, but it wasn't very clear because I only had my phone with me. I
Hmm.
need to get like a better camera to be able to film
Yeah.
these things.
Oh yeah, because sometimes you don't see it, your eyesight can't capture it, but a camera with the, what do you call it? The not infrared, but
Or, but
yeah,
there's, yeah,
I'm not of an expert on cameras yet, but
me
some
neither.
way that you can get it caption. Yeah.
Yeah,
My
definitely.
iPhone actually has that. You can, you know, capture in a different way the sky and it won't show. as dark, in a regular photo, So,
Yeah, yeah, I've heard that. I've
yeah.
got a not such a fancy phone, so it's
No, mine is still 11, iPhone 11. And it's already what, 16? I'm still like refusing
I
to
can't
go to
keep up.
5G.
Oh, yeah,
Still working.
I've got a 20-something-year-old son, so I've been forced to have 5G.
Oh, wow. Yeah, just keep it away. Keep it,
Yeah,
here, speakerphone. But that's
yeah,
quite interesting. I mean, like I said, I saw the picture of the mountain and it kind of like resembles somewhat of the colors of the rocks in Arizona, kind of sometimes,
yes.
right?
Yeah, yes. It's
I actually
actually
have a
interesting.
picture. Do you want me to share it?
Yeah,
I think I
for
have a
sure.
picture.
I
Let me
should
see.
have given you some of my
I,
photos because I've
well,
got photos.
if you know how to screen share, you can share. I can give you, but
I
I'll use.
wouldn't have a clue how to do that.
We'll practice before next time. I'm gonna
Yeah,
try. Actually, I'm not still like too much of a. I'm gonna try to see if I can share a little photo. Multiple person can share simultaneously. Okay, let me see. I'm just gonna test this out. If not, I'll just put it on the video photo. And of course, it's not happening right now. Whoopie-doo. Oh well. Share. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay. There you go. Can you see it?
yes. Oh, that's a lovely one.
Isn't this a
Yeah,
beautiful one?
yeah.
Yeah,
The sky
it's
is beautiful. Yeah,
gorgeous.
yeah. It's such a beautiful place. Just amazing energy there. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like everything else is flat, right? And then all of a sudden you see this thing sticking,
yeah,
a monolith. They call it a monolith. So I think I heard in one
yeah.
of the videos I was listening to. And I think the guy said that the reason why it's so reddish is because of the iron that is exposed. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I heard that as well.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you bring up about Sedona because I've heard some people say that they think there's a portal that connects from Uluru to Sedona.
Really?
Yeah, I definitely think there is a portal in Uluru or around there somewhere. Kind of had a sense of that.
Hmm.
There's definitely there's a lot going on under there. Like I think.
Yeah, you felt a lot of activity throughout the ages because
Yeah,
they say that this
definitely.
is like 550 million years, something like that,
Yeah,
according.
it's very
Yeah.
ancient. And like I said to you before, it used to be beneath an ocean, an ancient ocean,
Mm,
millions of years ago. Um, but I did sort of have a sense that there's a ship there as well.
yeah.
But I don't know if it's an ark ship, but there seems to be, like I said, there's a lot going on under there.
Yeah.
It's also protected. It's sort of
Yeah.
like I feel like we're not meant to know yet too much about what's under
Yeah.
there. Like,
Is it
and
true? Uh-huh.
sorry.
No, no, I'm so sorry that I interrupt. Is it true that the Aboriginals have the land now and that eventually has to be given back to?
Yes, yes, they have ownership of the land now. They were actually removed from their land. I'm not sure when that happened, maybe in the 1800s, which was quite sad, and they were taken somewhere else. But I think it was in the 1980s that they
Mhm. Yeah.
returned and they were
Mhm.
given ownership of the land back to them again. And they live around in the national park. They don't live right next to Uluru, like they live in the sort of surrounding areas in the park. But they leased the land back to the Australian government. So
Supposedly they have
yeah,
to give it back at a certain point. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I believe so.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's kind of odd. Why would you give it and then say, okay, then a few years later, we want it back?
Well, no, I don't think they have to give it back to the Australian government.
Okay.
I don't know, something to do with they leased it back to them. Yeah, I'm not
Okay.
sure of all the
But
details
they
actually.
protect it a lot. I mean, it's a national park
Yeah,
where there's much protection over it.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of protection. It's been kept very pure, which is good. Um, yeah, it's a special place.
Well, maybe one day I'll travel all the way over there to your end.
That would be amazing.
Imagine, I mean, you are, let me just stop sharing the screen. You're practically, if I look at the map, you're practically the other side.
Yeah,
But
yeah, exactly.
actually, but I've been to Japan, so in comparison to Japan, you're like kind of on the southwest of Japan,
Yes,
right?
yes, yeah.
So it would probably be easier for me to like go to Japan, say hi to, go to Mount Fuji and come to your end. That would be much easier
Yeah,
because,
definitely.
yeah, because it's like literally like 12, 13 hours to get from the US to Japan. But we have
Oh,
to, yeah, 13 hours. So, but then it takes probably the same amount of time from Japan to get to your neck of the woods, right?
I
No.
don't think it takes that long to get from Japan to Australia. Because I was looking into it, because I do want to go to Japan.
Mhm.
I don't remember, but it wasn't that long. It wasn't that long.
I
So
remember
yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
you mentioned popping into Japan. Hmm.
That's still on the cards for this year, if you're interested.
Japan, yeah, I've been there. I love it. It's a very mystical and beautiful country. So I think you're gonna definitely love it. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe we'll meet in Japan.
Maybe.
I know
Um,
there's all these conferences that are Elena Denan, who we listen to a lot and trust a lot of her work. So
yeah.
it's great to be able to have that information that like it's only a fraction of the population is has it, that's being informed. So it's pretty cool. And
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
yeah. And thanks to her and Dr. Sala and others that have a good reputation, Alex Clear,
Yes.
been able to they've helped us to really hone into more details of what's going on and give it more tangibility. But
Yeah, definitely. And they've helped us to kind of all connect with each other
yes,
too.
yes,
Yeah.
it's amazing because when I go back, I remember now that you mentioned this, I'm like, how did I connect to Elena and Alex, but I remember listening to Alex and Dr. Sala before, not as much, but I would, have a listen to them and I was like, I really love and respect what they say. And then 2020 happened. And then it was funny because I remember exactly the video where I saw Elena, you know, and it was a gentleman, I think he was called Prime something, and it may not have been her best connection with her because I can tell the difference between what Elena was doing, what he was doing. But even so, that connection itself helped me connect to her. If it
Yeah.
wasn't for that, and obviously I didn't listen to him. It was just like a random thing my friend sent me, and then all of a sudden her interview came with him, and then I'm like, I like what she says, and that's how it kept going. And from there,
Yeah.
it was just like, holy moly, we're here.
Yeah, it's interesting how we sort of find what we're meant to find.
Yeah.
Like I just stumbled across one of her videos. Like I've sort of been following her for a long time since the sort of early days. But I'm not even sure how I stumbled across one of her videos, but I was kind of like, wow, this is amazing. All the things that she was talking about,
Yeah,
the I hear the
resonated. Yeah.
Canadians and all of that. I was like, wow, it really resonated. So yeah, it sort of feels like a long journey. Like it's been
Absolutely.
now,
I mean,
yeah.
it's like a network. It's like, we started way over there, and then all of a sudden, as things starting to progress, we're connecting, with certain individuals depending on our experience, our perspective, you know, and
Yeah.
it's still manifesting. But I mean, I know we're probably going into another conversation, but how do you feel it's with how the information now it's kind of morphing, right? It's kind of like
Yeah,
you're
it's expanded. There's just so much more information now. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Like it's
yeah.
just expanded so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like the things that didn't make sense or they were not legit, they're kind of dropping off.
Yes.
And it's like the information that we were hoping, especially with the US government now just coming out like full force, and disclosure. I think just to close out, because I know you're, you know, you're in Australia. I think it's still morning time, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
No?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's fine.
it's
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here it's 5 p.m., 5:20 p.m. So, oh, and the day before, I'm in the past, so you're in the future.
Yes.
So, yeah, so I was saying with the information, it's just like going like so fast right now that we were talking earlier before we started the video that it's just hard to keep up with now because before it was like drip. It's like this drip and we're like dreading it. Oh my God, a little bit here, a little bit there. And then all of a sudden Trump came in and all of a sudden it's like it's just full force, you know.
Yeah.
We can't even, we're like, oh, wow, that happened. It's like, holy smokes. He did what? He's
Yeah,
wow.
it's so much like the mainstream kind of side of disclosure has really been very busy lately, which is good because
Yeah,
the mainstream people need to actually know what's going on. They need to be brought up to speed. So it's good.
absolutely. I think the big bomb is going to be the disclosure, the UFO, just,
Yeah.
no more
Yeah.
UFO. Like Penny said, it's real stuff.
Yeah,
And when that
exactly.
comes out, it's just going to drop a lot of ideas, cultural ideas that one had. It's just going to change completely. It's going to be
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, it is, but it's kind of necessary. I see it as preparation because at some point we're going to have like open contact
Hmm.
and people need to be prepared for that. And I think that's what this is all leading to.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously individuals have had contact, but
correct.
I'm talking about, like the sort of contact that everyone knows about. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's like they're getting people prepared. It's part of the plan. I think this plan that I'm always being told about.
Yeah,
That I
it's
don't know
it's
the details of, but I feel very
yeah,
strongly that's part of it. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. Well, my friend Mel, I'm so glad that you came, to my humble channel to talk about this common experience that I think eventually will develop with time, and hopefully we can come back and elaborate on new, insights and dreams. So whenever you like, you can come and join me. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me onto your channel. And like we were saying before, like we don't have all the answers about
Mhm.
what all this means. Really, we're still
Exactly.
trying to put the puzzle together, and we just sort of wanted to share our experiences. And I think
Mhm.
that's all part of it. So thank you.
Absolutely. I appreciate you coming here because it does help me as well. So it's not like, I rather enjoy a conversation. Sometimes I get and I do a solo and it's kind of weird for me. I'm trying to get used to it because it's like I'm talking to my screen.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I know what you mean.
but yeah. But here, having this connection now, it's awesome, and I look forward to having with others if they're open. And yeah, and I'll be, as I mentioned to you, in later on, I'm doing short videos of a lot of the dreams that I've captured for the last almost 2 years. So I have, a journal. I have a journal here, and I have another one that I started it because that's when, as soon as you wake up, that's when I try to capture all the because it goes away so fast, you know,
Yeah.
you don't capture your dreams. So, but
I
Excited.
look
Thank you so much. Huh?
I look forward to hearing more
Same
about your
here.
job.
I will. I'm learning how to put videos together because it's great to have a visual, because you can talk about it, but if you put a visual, I think people will be able to capture and have more essence of what you're trying to portray to them of what you saw because,
I
huh?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah, I want to do, I think I was saying, do you want to do that with
yeah,
some of my experiences as well? Because I've tried the
absolutely.
talking camera thing and I find it really difficult as well. Like, but if I have a visual,
Yeah.
of some of the experiences and,
Yeah,
I think
absolutely. You don't
more
have to
interesting.
like being the camera. You can put, here I am talking to you on the video about it, but I don't care. It's organic. So basically, I think you have Canva.
Yes.
I'm learning
Yeah.
about it, but you can put images and talk, it's like, and even write, and you don't have to be, visually there. Because imagine, all the time you have to prepare yourself. And, us women, we want to look a little bit better than how we are when we wake up. So all this thing, but if you want, I think it's a great idea because that way you can just put it together and just speak. You put the slide, speak about it, and go to the next one. And, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Be happy to help in any way if I can.
Oh, thank you.
All right, my dear. Well, thank you for being here, sweetie, and we will definitely do more. And like I said, if you wish to come and speak about another experience, feel free to let me know.
Okay, thank you very much.
Right
Thank
on.
you.
Thank you so much, and thank you everybody for joining us. And again, if anybody has any experience and anything came out, that trigger them to a memory or something, feel free to share it with us in the comments or let me know and we can set up something. Thank you. Good night. Good morning to you. Good afternoon to me the next day. All right, Mel. Have a good one.
See ya.